Rachel here from Beads by the Chill, bringing you a tutorial on doing caged beads. Let me show you a sample of what we're going to be making today. So all kitted out to match my outfit. So I'm going to be showing you how to make caged beads and how to adapt it with most bead sizes. You don't want to go really any lower than 6mm though. And also how we do part wrapping as well. Please do give me a thumbs up and do pop me a note in the comments so I know you were present. Now the tools you're going to need is a good pair of cutters, some round nose pliers, or they call them looping pliers, the same thing. Now you can either use flat nose pliers or bent nose pliers. I prefer the bent nose, but it depends what you've got in your toolbox. I would thoroughly recommend, as I've said before, as David told me earlier on, Mum, you do really need a new pair of nylon jaw pliers. Now most of them, including this one, you can have replacement tips, but I never get round to it. Anyway, nylon jaw pliers are great for ironing out those kinks in your wire. You're also going to need 0.8mm thick wire. You can either make your own eye pins or you can buy the eye pins. So eye pins basically have a loop one end, you pop your bead on and then you form the loop the other end. You're going to need a clasp, some open jump rings, and if you're going to do earrings, obviously you'd need earring hooks. I'm just going to show you the kits. They're not kits in the sense that they don't have instructions. The idea is you've got all the materials and you do it alongside the tutorial. And what I've got in there is I've done a gold one, a rose gold one, and a silver one. Now in the little bundle you've got 2 meters of 0.8mm wire, 16 inches of ivory glass pearls. Again, that'll do you a couple of bracelets. There are slight differences in the bundles. For example, the silver one has got long eye pins and shorter eye pins. Shorter ones just save on wastage if they fit what you're doing. You've also got 4 head pins and 4 earring hooks, and you've got, I think it was 20 jump rings and 5 lobster clasps. So that's what's in the kit, but if you look down on the list, it itemizes everything that's in there. I have already started one. I'm going to do it in the gold. I'm going to demonstrate on an 8mm and a 6mm, and I'm going to show you how to do the part wrapped. For an 8mm bead, you're going to cut for the full caged beads an 8-inch length of wire. For the 6mm, you'll cut 6 inches of wire. So that's 1 inch, 1 inch per millimetre in bead size, if that makes sense. You're going to need your looping pliers, and I loop them around 1 centimetre from the end. Make sure it's flush and turn a loop till it touches the other side. And you do the same the other side as well, and it doesn't matter at this point which way your loop is facing. You don't need to worry about that. Now a real top tip that someone gave me that really helps to form better loops is to get your cutters. It seems like a bit of a waste of a loop, but it really does work. Get your cutters and just trim off a couple of mil from the circle you've just formed. Let's just show you. Can you see that? And then get your round nose pliers back in and turn. And it does work. For some reason, it makes your loop a lot better formed. Now, what I'd recommend if you've not done this before is that you just start it off around your round nose pliers, just for the first half a turn. Now I'm going to use my bent nose pliers, but it's exactly the same if you're using flat nose. I would cover 1/2 to 3/4 of the circle, clamp it down and move it round. Reclamp it, so you're probably covering about 3/4 of it, and move it round. Clamp it again and move it round. So you're forming a coil, like a snail sort of shape. Now do a few turns on that, and then we're going to shimmy along to the other side. I'm going to trim into that. Now what we're going to do is, you could actually be precision and measure both sides, but I eyeball it because you can pretty much gauge by looking at it whether or not you've got equal amounts either side. I'm just trying my best not to go off camera. Now that centre loop is going to be where we pop our EYEPIN in afterwards. So can you see I'm clamping and I'm turning, clamp it. So you can, I'm doing a little bit of both, of turning the wire while I'm clamping. Just keep looking at the screen to make sure I'm not going off camera. So you can see, and you can even, if you're struggling at this point, you can even do it a little bit with your fingers. And you want to keep going until your loops meet in the middle, your coils meet in the middle, and you've got roughly the same amount of coils either side. So let's just pop that down so you can have a closer look. Okay, that's what we've got. And then we're going to twist it so they both go in opposite directions. And then you can bring them in a little bit closer. Okay, looping pliers, otherwise known as round nose pliers. Pop them on there. I'm just going to try and get that a little bit more in focus. And just separate gently these coils. So you're starting to form your caged bead. So you do one that side. Actually, you do it both the same side. So it's just a bit of stretching. Okay. And what we're going to do now is encase our beads. And with your fingers, you can use your pliers if you want to, but in the halfway point between them, just start to fold it up so that it becomes like a clamshell. And before you seal it up, pop your bead in there. Now, I normally get both ends with my nails, give it a bit of a squidge and just reorganise all of those, and there you have your caged bead. So we've put this EYEPIN through the whole of the bead and through the hole that you've made in the cage. We're going to form a loop the one end. Now to do that, we're going to turn it at almost a right angle, cut the excess down to about probably just under 1 centimetre. Keep hold of that tail as well so it doesn't take flight. And if you've done earrings before, this is a similar thing. Make sure it sits flush, hold this stable in your non-dominant hand, and then turn a loop. And there you have your caged bead. And what you would do then is you would then attach it to your other caged bead using a jump ring. So you'd need flat nose and chain nose pliers. So I'm using flat nose and my bent nose because that's what I've got available. The slit of the jump ring sits at 12 o'clock. Open that up, just gentle movements, add the one caged bead and then the other caged bead, and then return that back, and I normally give it a squeeze on the top, and you've got your links. The next thing we're going to do is, I do love these, I think they're beautiful, half wrapped. Okay, you don't need quite as much wire. Now this is an 8mm bead, and just to be on the safe side, I'm going to cut 6.5 inches. I'm going to form a wire wrap loop one end. So basically what we're doing, let's look at the other one, is we're forming this little loop at the one end. Okay, so I would say from about 1 inch from the end, position it round your round nose pliers, and do be careful because sometimes if you keep it on your round nose pliers it marks the wire. And then I'm going to wrap this around that centre wire like so. Let's trim that excess off. And obviously do any tidying up that you need to do. Pop your bead on there and snuggle that up. Then we're going to do another wire wrap loop the other side, and you literally only want it about 1 millimetre gap between the pliers and the bead. So bring it round the one side and bring it round like so. Okay, I'm going to switch again to clamp in this. Alright, so we're going to wrap underneath the loop and then let it sit on top of the previous coils you've done. Then when you're happy with that, bring it across at an angle like so, and then wrap it over the top of the wire wrap loop that you formed first of all. There we go. Now I'm going to straighten those up in a minute because they do look rather bent. I'm going to cut that. And I'm just going to straighten those up so they look a little bit more presentable. And there we have your half wrapped bead. So we've covered the half wrapped bead, caged bead using an EYEPIN. So this is one I preformed. This is in the purple marble effect beads. I have attached a standard clasp using a jump ring, and I've put a little ring at the end as well. So I've alternated between using half wrap beads and caged beads, but you can make the pattern as you wish. I was going to do 3 centre beads in the gold and 2 half wire wrapped, and then I was going to switch to the antique gold and then have the antique gold in the half wire wrap loop. And don't forget, obviously you can use the same technique, you can turn these into earrings as well. So I would recommend that you just undo the bottom part of the earring. I can show you how to do that. So you would just lift up the open part, pop that on there. Now you might want to add, if you're doing an earring, you might want to add another bead with a head pin. Is the same way as an eye pin, but your head pin's got a flat base, is you could attach that and have a little dangle on the bottom. If you do want any of the bundles, they're in the group, in the silver, the gold and the rose gold. There's also the draw bench beads, which are called Marble Effect. You can get them online as well, as on my website. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do not forget, revisit my YouTube gallery. But I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. Bye.